Hey guys, it's JStarWars360 here, giving you guys my review, or my thoughts on Star Trek Into Darkness. Now before I go into that, I just want to say, some of you may be wondering why I didn't do a video on Star Wars Rebels, the big Star Wars announcement. I do Star Wars stuff. Well, I did do a video on it, but for some reason it didn't save, and I didn't feel like recording another one. So maybe I'll do a video, my thoughts on it eventually, but if you want my quick thoughts, I'm excited. Love that era. Can't wait to see it. But anyway, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, I already told you guys my thoughts on the original Star Trek. I really enjoyed that movie. Love the characters. Love the story. And I was really looking forward to this movie, seeing the story continue. It's one of, if not my most anticipated movie of the year. I think, actually, yeah, it was my most anticipated film of the year. And I have to say, it was really good. I mean, I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but I did really like it. Now, before I go any further, I have to say this film, I'm gonna have to get into spoilers, just because it's gonna be really hard for me to talk about this film and not spoil anything. So, So for those of you who are watching this video and for some reason you haven't seen the movie, I'm just gonna summarize right now. The basic plot of the movie is that there's this guy who blew up an Enterprise building called John Harrison, and Kirk and his crew are sent after him, and they capture him, and it turns out he's Khan, and then they get into some conflict with Admiral Marcus and stuff. A lot happens, alright? But that's the basic plot. Now, so basically this film is essentially a retelling of Wrath of Khan / Space Seed. So, and that's why I prefer the first one, because the first one was an original story. It was the origin story of the crew. I mean, there was a weak villain, but that's okay, because it's not about, we're not here to see them fight a bad guy. We're here to see the crew and the characters come together. Kirk and Spock start to form a friendship, the Enterprise crew form, all that stuff. And it was cool to see them come together and how they came together. Here it's like and it was an original story. Here they were just taking characters and stories and ideas, basically what the general public knew about Star Trek, and just put it on screen. Like, we had Klingons, we had Khan, we had scenes and lines from Star Trek. I'm not saying it was done bad, I'm just saying one was really original. The other borrows heavily from Star Trek lore and what people know about Star Trek. Not saying it was bad, just saying prefer it when they do something original. So, and again, for what they did, I thought it was really good. I mean, first off, you have the dramatic irony of how we, the audience, I mean, at least if you watch Star Trek, you know who Khan is. You know what he's capable of. But the Enterprise crew, they have no idea who Khan is or what he's capable of. So there's that dramatic irony. We know what's going to happen. We know what his intentions are. We know that if they're going to beat him, it's going to come at what Nimoy means when he says, we beat him, but at a great sacrifice, cost, or something. We know. And, yeah, it's pretty obvious that Harrison's Khan. I mean, there's some hints that they drop out. It was already suspected by a lot of people. I mean, the instant they opened up the missiles and they saw the frozen guy inside, I was like, okay, this is going to be about Khan, isn't it? And it was. But again, they tweak the story up. I think there's one scene that turns a lot of people off, and that's the end when, spoilers, they do the whole thing where where Kirk sacrifices himself to fix the engine, and you have the famous Kirk and Spock on opposite sides of the glass scene, which some people hated because they just were quoting lines from Star Trek. I didn't mind it much because it was different. I mean, for one thing, they were on opposite sides of the glass. This time it was Kirk sacrificing himself, not Spock. And also this scene, whereas in Wrath of Khan, it was more about Kirk and how he couldn't be beaten, and now he's finally dealing with this loss of his friend. Whereas in this one, it's more about Spock developing his emotions, becoming emotional, and he screams Khan, which I will admit it was kind of cheesy. I was pretty kind of this close to laughing, but I understand. I've always found it, and to be fair, the original Khan was pretty cheesy as well, but it had a point to it. Also, one thing I like in this movie that the original didn't, there was the moral dilemma of do you play by the book, do you not play by the book. Kirk got to the captain's chair by not obeying the rules, but at the same time, now he does have to sort of go by the rules. So yeah, that worked. Pacing-wise, I thought this movie worked really well. I mean, it's 2 hours long, but it didn't feel like 2 hours. Like, it keeps moving. Like, we never stay in one spot too long. And when we got to the wrap-up, when the story started wrapping up, I was like, wow, that was fast. Although that could also be a problem, as I'm going to talk about later. Also, Abrams did a good job keeping the story quiet. I mean, he manipulated the trail. Like, he had the hands pressed against the glass, and he thought, oh, Spock's gonna die, And I read somewhere that Zachary Quino, the guy who plays Spock, was not going to come back and play him, so I thought, oh, they're killing him off in this movie. But nope, they're switching it around. Also, they hinted that that made it seem like Khan was going to crash the Enterprise into the water, but it's actually Admiral Marcus's ship that's crashing into the water, so I thought that was clever. Let's see. Also, love the original cast. Love seeing these characters. Love seeing them play off each other. Love the new characters. I love Cumberbatch as Khan. Like, when I first heard his voice, I was like, yes, it's Cumberbatch. Because I watch BBC Sherlock, and I really enjoy it, especially Cumberbatch. I mean, some people don't like him. I personally like him. He does a really good job as Khan. Although, if I were to critique his character, I'd have to say that for a movie where they build up this Khan character, we really don't see much of him. I mean, most of the movie is them trying to find him, them getting him, and them fighting. I mean, he really doesn't become the real threat of the movie until, like, the last chunk of the movie. And even then, they beat him, like, really quickly. It's like, oh, he's the villain. Oh, we'll beam the missiles onto his ship. Boom, he's dead. Well, I mean, there's a chase scene, but you know what I mean. Like, they beat Khan, then the story wraps up. Like, I wish there was more Khan. We've got a full-out Kirk versus Khan. I mean, I understand why they did it, and I can't see... The only two ways they could have done it were to have a more Khan-centric story would be to either rewrite the movie or make it longer, and I doubt either of those would be done. I'm just saying, I mean, it's really quick. I mean, just when Khan becomes the villain, I think, okay, shit's gonna get real now. The story starts wrapping up. I mean, I accepted it, but I just wish we got more of them. Especially considering how much he was built up in this movie. But regardless, he's a big upgrade from the villain in the last film. Also, the film looks really nice. I mean, it's cinematic. It looks really nice. I mean, especially in 3D. I mean, the lens flare is back, and I don't mind it much. I think it looks nice, but I think they toned it down a bit in this movie. It's still there, though. Well, the one thing they do a lot now is they'll move the camera a lot. Like, it'll tilt, it'll turn upside down, it'll turn sideways. It's just ridiculous. So again, let's see. Hang on, I'm just looking at my written review here. Because I'm doing a general review, and then you guys can watch the written review, so I'm trying to see if I haven't touched on any major points. Oh yeah, another major problem I have with the movie, and it was kind of underwhelming. Like, I feel like the trailers made it seem more epic than it really was. Similar to Iron Man 3. And I know the point of it was to make it more exciting, but the movies led me to believe I was getting one kind of film, and the film I got was kind of different. Not bad, I'm just saying. And again, it worked out. Now for the second reason why I don't think this film is as good as the first one. With the first one, I wasn't expecting it to be really good. I was kind of skeptical as to whether or not they could make it work, whether or not they could successfully reboot Star Trek with a new cast and everything. And when they did a good job, I was really surprised. Whereas this one, I was expecting a really good film, so it met my expectations. Whereas, let me rephrase that. Star Trek Into Darkness met my expectations of a really good Star Trek movie. Whereas the first one exceeded my expectations of, oh no, I mean, can they make this work? And when they did make it work, I was really impressed. So yeah. And let's see, also ending kind of bothers me. I mean, this movie just feels really episodic, and it was really, when I see a Star Trek movie, I want to see a Star Trek movie, like the next chapter. I mean, this is kind of next chapter, but point is, like, they wrap everything up really nicely at the end. Like, there's no threads, except maybe a Klingon war, but they don't really mention that at the end. It's like, oh yeah, Klingon war. Like, a third of the way in, and then it's never touched on again. Oh, did I mention that the Klingons are in this movie, and they look really cool? Hang on, how am I doing on time? But yeah. It felt really episodic, and considering it ends the same way as the first one does, it really doesn't feel like much. I mean, stuff happened, but nothing, like, big. I mean, when your movies, both of your movies end the same way, it's kind of rustling and cartoony, like, something happened, but we're back to normal. But again, keep in mind, I don't hate Star Trek. Most of my criticisms are just why I prefer the first one over the second one. I did really like it. I'm really glad I saw it. Enjoyed it much more than Iron Man 3. Actually, I think I might think less of Iron Man 3 after seeing this film. And really glad I saw it. I'm definitely going to watch it again. I'm probably going to buy it on Blu-ray or DVD. Although I might wait, see how the third film, and because they've already confirmed they're doing a third one and fourth one if they do one. But the point is, I'm gonna wait till the rest of the trilogies come out. If the rest of the films are good, I'm just gonna buy a complete set. If only certain ones are good, I'll only buy those certain ones. But yeah, if you're a fan of the original Star Trek and really liked it, I'd say go check this one out because you're gonna really like it. If you're not a fan of the new Star Trek and this new action-y focused Star Trek or these characters, then don't watch this one. It's more of the same. And if you want more of the same, you're going to like this one. If not, you're not going to like this one. So yeah, so I give it a 80 out of 100. And if you want my full written review, check out the link in the description. This is JStar360, signing out.